are back with our second conversation for this morning. We're talking all about World Antimicrobial Awareness Week, and AMR for short. And we have the folks from PAHO and the World Health Organization to talk to us a little bit more about what that means and what are we campaigning for. So in studio with us we have Dr. Tamari Roque, who is the International AMR Consultant at PAHO. And joining us in Zoom we have Dr. Joe Myers, Director at BAHA, and Dr. Job Joseph, who is the PAHO representative here in Belize. Good morning, everyone.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us. So for our viewers, and just to establish the conversation for this morning, antimicrobial awareness. What are we talking about? What is that discussion like? Can I catch it? What is this disease? It sounds very multifaceted. So can we have that discussion?
Yes. So there are so many layers to what we have to talk about today. But the first is to say World Antimicrobial Awareness Week is between November 18th to the 24th. And it's a week where the World Health Organization and in our region, the Pan American Health Organization, we want to increase awareness, education, understanding about using antimicrobials and the safe use of antimicrobials. Antimicrobials are a group of medicines that we use to treat infections. You may be more familiar with the term antibiotic,
yes,
which is a type of medicine that treats a bacterial infection. But an antimicrobial is an umbrella term that covers different types of medicines, such as antivirals, antiparasitic, antifungal medications, and all of these types of bugs cause infection. So we also want to increase awareness on antimicrobial resistance, which is an issue of bugs. So it's not an issue of human beings or animals. The organisms that cause infection, they develop a resistance to the medicines that we use to treat them.
Right.
And that is an issue because if our effective medicines stop being effective, then these bugs tend to multiply, they tend to cause disease, untreatable disease, and that's a health crisis. Another approach to antimicrobial resistance is something called a One Health approach. And that is why we have the Ministry of Health and Wellness here with us. We have BAHA, the Belize Agricultural Health Authority, to join in on this conversation because it's not only a health sector issue, it's an issue of animal health, plant, environmental health, and that's why we're all here to have this discussion with you today.
Well then, Dr. Joe, I will throw the conversation to you and talk about how the antimicrobial resistance is a threat to not just humans, but also animals and food safety. So can you talk about BAHA's instrumental stance on AMR?
Pleasant good morning once more. Thank you.
Good morning.
As Dr. Rock rightly mentioned, we have what we call a three-pronged approach, and it has to do with integrated surveillance. We cannot deal with the different healths in isolation because everything is really interconnected. One of the concerns from the sector, which would be the agricultural sector, which I represent, is the misuse or abuse of antibiotics, which could then lead to antimicrobial resistance. As mentioned, it's about the bug, not about the species being affected. Therefore, we have embarked on what is called, because every situation is unique or particular. We cannot copy or carbon copy the situation of another country. Therefore, we've embarked on what you call a surveillance in the use of antimicrobials across the board. And especially in the poultry industry, we have people who are very learned, who are very sensitized, and that makes the job much easier. And so we have a pretty good picture of where we are and how to proceed.
All right. And joining us, we have Mr. Engelbert Emmanuel, who is the Director of Licensing and Accreditation at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
The conversation is still around the AMR Week, the Antimicrobial Resistance Awareness Week. Speak to us about the campaign that the MOH is embarking in.
Good morning again. Once again, the campaign is basically to look at getting educational awareness out there and to get the community involved. And the approach this year was collaboratively with different sectors under the One Health Committee that is established in Belize, where we have different partners working together, addressing One Health. One of the things that I can share is that we had looked at different means and ways so we can get the community involved, and we decided to do a poster competition and a video competition. And we had opened that to the schools, to the health facilities, to the broader community. And we're hoping that through that, we're able to see greater involvement and understanding in terms of the use of antimicrobial within our community and the broader different institutions, and that we see better rational use of antibiotic amongst our population in Belize. So it's mainly to create awareness, but generally my role is from the infection prevention control perspective. Right. And one of the things that we try to do is to monitor different cases within the facilities and risk factors, looking at risk factors within the institution, and eliminate those risk factors through infection prevention control techniques. And those are generally looking at standard precaution measures, looking at aseptic procedures, where we see our professionals practice certain measures like safe injection therapies. We talk about environmental sanitation and cleanliness. We look at disinfecting the environment and sterilization of medical devices and equipment, monitoring cases on the wards, and to see how we eliminate some of these risks within the health setting, to strengthen or to remove pathogens within these institutions.
I want to bring in Dr. Job into the conversation, just to get a feel of what is happening, not just in Belize, but globally when it comes to AMR. What happens to the body when it begins to resist these antibiotics or these treatments? What is the person doing that is causing this, or what is the body then doing that causes this to happen? And why resist it in the first place? So, Dr. Joe?
Thank you very much. Good morning once again. It's a pleasure being with you. At the beginning, you said PAHO representative. It's focal point, AMR focal point at the PAHO country office, but that's fine. Yes, thank you very much. That's a very, very interesting question. The body does not resist. The bacteria or virus or what the microorganism resist to the antibiotic use. It's not the body. I mean, they have different mechanisms of resistance. We're not gonna talk about all of them. There are many of them. One of the first broad category is the natural resistance. The bacteria develop resistance over time to certain antibiotic, or it can be an acquired resistance also. When from external mechanism, they get some acquired mechanism to resist to the antibiotic. That's the microorganism that is resistant to the antibiotic, not the body of the person.
That is like a myth, right? Because when they say, "Oh, your immune system is getting stronger when it resists the medicine," where did that come from?
I think it's so important that we have conversations on the language and raising awareness in the community, because these things are understood by medical professionals and persons working in the field. But in the community, we use them. When we use them, people don't quite understand what we mean.
Right.
And now these bugs that are resistant, we call them superbugs. So that's another term that you could think of when you think about antimicrobial resistance. These superbugs are found in specific places. So they can be found in healthcare institutions because that's where we use a lot of antibiotics, and that's where IPC comes in. They can be found on farms because antibiotics are used a lot in animals. They're used in breeding livestock, they're used prophylactically as well as growth promoters in livestock. And once the bugs have encountered an antibiotic, they start evolving. It's survival of the fittest, right? They want to start to learn and combat the medicines that we use to treat them. And so the bugs that learn that, they survive, they grow, and they spread. So there's something called a genetically mobile element. It's a type of DNA, or a jumping gene, I like to call it, that goes from one bug to the next. And that's how they encourage that form of evolution. And then when you have that bug, I can spread it to you, you spread it to someone else. And in a healthcare institution setting, you could imagine what that could mean for health outcomes. So you may go in for a diabetic crisis or something fairly benign, but needs to be monitored by a doctor. And you have these super bugs that exist in that environment. Once you're infected by that superbug, your health may decline. It causes 50% more longer hospital stay. It costs 50% more, and it could lead to 50% mortality in some cases, which means death. So something that we could have treated easily before, it becomes virtually untreatable, and that is a public health crisis.
Right, and I'm super glad you brought that up, because majority of the time, well, not majority of the time, but we've heard of these cases. We've seen these cases happen, and we don't really know why, right? We say we got in a hospital and we come out worse than before. So then, in reference to that, Mr. Emmanuel, what is the MOH doing in terms of rules and regulations to prevent these kinds of bugs from spreading?
Like I said, we have our infection prevention control program, and one of the things that is done routinely is to monitor the different processes within the hospital. We do a lot of training, in terms of standard precaution, and standard precaution includes many different things, as I said, in terms of the way we manage our waste, hand hygiene, the PPEs that we use, the environmental cleaning, the way we manage the use of introducing injections or invasive procedures. All these things we look at, and definitely we have to keep monitor, we have to keep encourage that we keep the environment clean. Also, when we have common cases, we do cohorting and we do isolation, and we have systems in place, and these systems help us to reduce risk factors, to stop transmission within the hospital setting. Also, we do what we call observation. We would have our nurses go on the ward, or infection control nurses go on the ward, and we observe certain procedures done by the doctors, by the nurses, and encourage that hand hygiene. Hand hygiene is one of the key in all, it helps to eliminate the pathogen. The cleaning of the environment, your patient care items, where you will station your medication, your injections, etc. It has to be done in a sterile way. So all these things we do, we monitor on a daily basis. And whenever we identify areas that requires strengthening, we then set up strategies to address these matters internally. And we look at plan in terms of eliminating the risk factors. So all these things we look at, we encourage patients to practice certain or to conduct certain IPC measures while in the hospital, in terms of their cough etiquette, in terms of how they interact with the family, and how family interact with the patient, and as they leave the facility, things that they should be doing. So that's a means in terms of reducing risk factors, and for them to even take whatever they may acquire in the hospital outside of the hospital setting, and how we go about preventing these specific pathogens from finding its way around others within the healthcare setting, around the professionals. So like what Dr. Rack says, there are so many superbugs around within the healthcare setting, and that's why cleaning is quite important. The chemicals that we utilize within the health setting, the right mix, the way we mix it, the procedures in terms of cleaning, we encourage that they clean from the least dirty to the dirtiest area. If you ever go into the hospital, you see how they map and They don't encourage them to sweep because of many things, you know.
Dust.
Yes, exactly. We encourage them to change the linen regularly, including how we store the linen, the dirty linen, how we clean the dirty linen. And these are important things because if we don't use the right chemicals, these bugs, as we said, they are resistant to certain chemicals likewise. And also we see the issue around the antibiotics too. So we cohort, we take certain measures.
And Dr. Myers, from Baja's perspective, how do you manage these issues? Because I would imagine that it would be very difficult with specific regard to importation and goods coming from outside, because I know that that's part of Baja's portfolio.
When you say importation of goods, what are you referring to?
For instance, if we're dealing with, like, let's say, organic things that are going to be coming from outside, and some of the concerns that might raise.
Okay. Generally speaking, we have our regulations also on importation of products are not automatic per se. For any new product or from a new country or a different source, we have a process which we implement, which is called an import risk analysis. And depending on the finding, that will warrant, we then do a site visit whereby 2 officers go to the place of origin and conduct an investigation. So it's not as straightforward or as simple. Now, as it relates to the specific products, which would be antimicrobials, I would like to emphasize that the Ministry of Health has the parent law for antibiotics, which then emphasizes the importance of us working together as a team, and that has been going pretty well. On the other side of what Mr. Emmanuel spoke about, the IPC, in the animal health realm, we have what we call the biosecurity measures, and of paramount importance of all the aspects there is. We also look at hand washing or cleaning and disinfection, and there's what we call a downtime, especially in the poultry industry, whereby after you harvested the barn is clean and disinfected and rested for 2 weeks minimum before you populate again with other chickens or birds. And
yes, go ahead.
yeah, and likewise, we're looking, because it's easy to prohibit or ban products based on risk, but then it's important that we provide what we call an alternative. And so we've looked at using alternative products, such as farmers have been using organic products such as garlic, oregano, and also essential acids, probiotics. But we also have to look at costs, because it's a business and you're looking at making a profit. So it has to be a very feasible and a very friendly approach. So basically, when you spoke about growth promotion, I would like to emphasize that the way the antibiotic work, as you speak to growth promotion, is that it improves what you call the gut health, and so that in itself improves absorption of the feed, and so we get a better body weight at the time of slaughter. But that is not always the case, and we would need another session to delve into that, to explain that situation, that approach.
You have to come back. Yeah. But yes, Dr. Rook, you want to add?
I wanted to add that hand washing. You hear Dr. Myers mention hand washing, Mr. Emmanuel mentioned it, and hand washing is such an important element of what we want to promote, because everyone can do it. Yes. It's not only done in health centers, it's not only done on farms to prevent infection, it can be done in your home. And that's one way we engage the community. We show them the proper and adequate way to wash your hands, and that reduces antimicrobial resistance and infection in general. Yeah. Now, another strategy we want to do is the poster competition. Yes. So the video poster competition was designed and developed by the One Health Committee of Belize, and it's a competition that engages tertiary level as well as One Health labor force. So if you are at university, sixth form, and college, and you're learning about these things, you don't have to be someone who is a doctor in training. You could be a pharmacist, a microbiologist in training. You could be someone who's learning agriculture, someone's learning in the environment. All of these come to play when we talk about the One Health approach. So we encourage you to contribute to our educational campaign on AMR.
Yeah.
There's a wealth of materials online that you could find at paho.org that will teach you more about AMR and how to convey that message. But make it your own, make it original, make it creative, and make your submissions to BLZ Communications at paho.org.
Yeah.
And the deadline is the 22nd of November.
And it could be 3 minutes long, 5 minutes long.
So the video is between 2 to 3 minutes long. You can do a pitch where you talk about AMR directly to the camera. It can be a skit, be as creative as you need to be. And it could be any language that's spoken in Belize. So you could do it in Quechua, Garifuna, English, Spanish.
Perfect.
You could also submit a poster. It could be hand-drawn, or you could take a picture of it. You could make a digital version of it and send it to us in JPEG or PDF format. And all of those will be reviewed. You see the criteria and topics that we are looking for. We're looking for either a explanation of what antimicrobial resistance is that is more accessible to general population. We're looking for a One Health approach to AMR, or we're looking for safe use of antimicrobials. And all of these will be used in our campaign next year to promote AMR and antimicrobial awareness.
And when will you be drawing the winner for the competition?
We will be naming our winner on the 24th of November, and you'll be invited to an award ceremony on the 25th of November.
Very good.
Yes.
And so
the prizes.
Oh, yes.
That's very, very important. The prizes are the first prize.
Yes,
go ahead, Dr. Joseph.
Yes, I was trying to jump in, so thank you very much. We still have time, or we don't?
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I think my colleagues already spoke about one of the most important cost-effective tool that we have, which is the hand washing. Now, when we spoke about IPC in general, this is what we need to champion in Belize, in the sense that if you don't have the infection, you will not have the need to treat them. That's why infection prevention and control is very, 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 very important and critical. This is a global crisis, not only in Belize, it's everywhere, but I think we can do our best to try to protect our population, telling them what to do and when to do it. Hand hygiene or hand washing, as my colleagues just put it, it's key. And the best way to educate adults is trying to educate the children first, and they will be able to educate their fathers. That's why the reason that we say, okay, it's good to start from the beginning. We let them know what hand hygiene is in Belize. I mean, they will be, for sure, children will come home and say, you know what, Dad, I think you should have washed your hand after A, B, C, and D. That's what we want to do in Belize. We want to raise awareness about that. It is a very, very, very important part of what we're trying to do. The other thing is about stewardship. I think we didn't have the time to speak about that. That's very important. Antimicrobial stewardship, when not only at micro level, at health facilities, even how we import our antimicrobials, in the sense that there should be what we call a monitoring aspect to know the use or the consumption of those antibiotics. That's why WHO has a very, very important tool. It is called the AWARE tool. That's been three classes of they put them in three categories. The first one is access. That's been, those are the antibiotic or antimicrobial you have access to. And then the second class is the watch class. That's been and then the third class is the reserve class, which are for superbug and when it is very needed. That's why when we talk about antimicrobial resistance, we talk about the misuse of them that cause that. Not only that, but this is one of the aspects that can cause that. That's why it is very important for us to continue raising awareness on that, telling our people, even our health care personnel, about how important it is not to use the first antibiotic you think of. That's why there are classes: access, watch, and reserve. You start with the access first. After that, if you think that doesn't work, or with your clinical criteria that doesn't work, then you switch to the other class. It's not you come with the most expensive one or the most fancy one. You go through the categories: the access first, the watch, and the reserve. That's what we're trying to do, not only at the community level, but also at the hospital, at the healthcare facilities also. Over and thank you. I wanted to just mention that because I don't want us to run out of time and not mention it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. We are quickly wiring down. But yes, the purpose of the campaign and the purpose of the raise awareness is the language we talk about, how it's misused, the various steps that we can take that are very mundane, washing your hands and so forth and just being clean. But before we go, for those of them that enter the competition, get into it, they make all of these awareness campaigns for their competition, what do they win?
So we have some wonderful prizes. The first and most important prize is that your video or poster will be used in our awareness campaign next year.
Yes.
Right, and so we want to
You'll be the face of AMR awareness campaign.
Yes, you'll be a part of the National One Health Committee and participating in our campaign. But you could also win a laptop computer, which is first prize, and the prize will be awarded for the tertiary groups and the One Health labor force separately.
Okay.
So a laptop computer, a tablet, and a gift bag, which is third prize, which has a lot of cool AMR material, posters, and so on. And we are using these materials because we encourage group submissions as well. So you don't have to submit as an individual. It could be a health facility.
Yeah.
You all want to make one big submission so that you could have these prizes for your facility. We're encouraging all of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Dr. Roque, Mr. Emmanuel, Dr. Myers, Dr. Joseph, thank you all so much for coming in. I do think that you have to come back and talk, not just about the awareness week, but just the topic in general. So thank you all so much for your time, and we wish you all the best of luck with the campaign.
Thanks for having us.
AMR, Antimicrobial Resistance Awareness Week, is November 18th
to the 24th.
This is Live on 5. We'll be right back after this commercial break, so stay tuned.